Good evening or night, everyone. However you want to look at it. Tonight, we're going to be going through, or at least trying to get through, the next piece in the Forward Unto Dawn suit for one of the newest members of the Michigan Misfits Halo Costuming Battalion. I've already taken some steps to prepare for the stream tonight, so some of the normal steps that I would do, I've already done. So this is going to be the Shin piece, and as you can see on this piece, I forgot that other light, my bad. You can see these lines. This is where I score. It just makes it easier to make nice bends. So you see the flat piece and it bends, and that just, it gives it a nice corner without showing a seam. And that can work for both mountain folds and also valley folds. Not a real good look at it. There you go. So it can work for either way depending on what you do. I will say getting valley folds to stay are probably the most tricky. Now this piece is this piece right here, and it's not capturing my cursor, which is fine. But it's basically, well, I'll turn it around. It's this particular piece is what you see right. Well, that's just not going to cooperate. It's basically that piece just reversed. So just kind of, it'll end up going kind of like that, essentially. I basically have everything set and ready to go. It's just a matter of assembling it and chatting through the whole process. It's almost amazing, even for me, to see how it looks. Starts off, any part just looks like a big pile of nothing. It's just, you know, random bits and parts and, you know, hoopla, and it's a whole lot of nothing right now. You see a mess, but then it turns into something that's pretty awesome. So, looking at the Pepicure model, which I'm glad I got around to making this visible on my stream. So that way it gives you an idea of what it's going to look like, what I'm going to be doing, and how it's going to end up. And so I'm kind of trying to figure out where I want to start. I'm thinking about starting off with, because there's a couple of small parts like that, the kneecap. The only problem with the kneecap is I think I'm missing a couple of pieces. Granted, I don't think they're necessarily needed pieces. These are 3 of them right here. This is another one. And even then, I think I didn't, because this bottom half right here is not going to be visible. So I'm not going to be worrying about that. Generally, if it's something that isn't visible, I'm not going to necessarily worry about it as much, because this is basically, this section is going to end up behind here, except that's going to bend down kind of like that, and then this section is just going to stick up kind of like that. So after I add a piece in here, you're really not going to see anything down here. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to waste the time and to make it look all pretty. So I guess we'll start with this piece just because it's small. There's 3 pieces to it, nice and easy. I wonder who's on. And nobody. So, glue gun. You know, one of the nice things about doing that that cut in the back, like I showed you on that other piece, is not only does it work for mountain folds and valley folds, it also works if you're not necessarily doing a 90-degree piece. You can do it 45 degrees, you know, or just even a little bit like this little piece. It's just barely kind of going in there. It's, you know, so it's just a small deviation to flat, but you can get it to set up. Sometimes the trick with these smaller pieces, though, and especially when you have big hands, it's can be a challenge to hold in place. So we just kind of lightly, yes, you always find a way to do it. Any of you that are looking to really get into foam, one person, if you don't know them already, that you should really check is Evakira Armor. I should probably put his link in the description. You can look him up on Facebook, and he's a master. Between him and Jonathan Groves, they made a 1-to-1 scale Master Chief Halo 4 suit, and it's just impeccable. It's just, I mean, a lot of my forearms that I personally made for my normal suit, that I learned and used a tutorial made by Evakira, and to this day it's invaluable. I'd probably need to follow it again if I need to remake my forearms, which I probably will at some point. But he's very good at explaining what he does, but and makes it easy to follow. But he's just really super talented. He just has this insane eye for detail, and it's just, he does great work, and you should really check him out. I believe he's also on the 405th. Not that I necessarily promote the 405th, but that's where I initially found him. And he's just a real talent. In fact, I'm going to write on his page right now. But just I just like, really, just the way he was able to make a tutorial step by step. It impressed me and inspired me, and so I'm just grateful to him. Apologies. Sometimes it's difficult to type a thing with thought and be able to speak at the same time. I I try not to do this whole not building stuff while I'm supposed to be building stuff, but sometimes it just kind of happens. I'm very go with the flow, and so I apologize, bear with me. Alright, there's that. Okay. Now, another thing that I'm going to have to do just in this whole preparation for the convention and so on is I have to make brand new Halo Reach style thigh pieces and shins. Not thigh pieces, shins. Shins and boots. To which I've made the shins before. I've since repainted them to go with another build that I did. I had some spare parts and I used the only shins that I had and repainted them. So right now they're a camouflage style with some metal speckle blue. So it's kind of it's actually a neat paint scheme. I'm kind of proud of it. I did it in the same similar camo pattern as my my main Halo set, which I did as a just kind of a freehand woodland style camo. It's it's the old style army uniform, and I use that just because when I served in the army that's what I wore. I didn't wear the ACU. I never even remotely came close to multicam and whatever they're going to come up with next. The FUD suit that's actually for my dad is going to be in color, kind of reminiscent of his service in the Army back in the early 70s. He was part of the Big Red One. He was stationed in Germany, and he was an armored. He drove armored personnel carriers. He learned how to drive tanks, I think. Did a lot of shuttling around of battalion staff and that sort of thing. But his basic armor is going to be themed after his service. And back when he served, it was basically his uniforms are all OD green, and that was before they adopted the woodland camo. In fact, he tells me periodically that towards the end of his service, they had started to paint the vehicles in the camouflage. So it's just kind of a funny thing that the uniform change that I went through isn't that far off to what my dad went through. So that's kind of funny. Not really funny haha, but funny interesting. So, interesting tidbit that you now know about Colonel Fork and Chappie, Colonel Chappie. And no, it is not based after the movie Chappie. I haven't seen it. I kind of want to see it, but at the same time, it just seems like a newfangled version of Short Circuit. And I'm really fond of Short Circuit, so I don't want to have that fondness ruined by a new movie that's essentially trying to be that movie, just with new technology and blah blah blah. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm not saying that I'll never like it. I'm kind of hesitant. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest. But it's actually based off the character, or a character from the movie Iron Eagle, which Iron Eagle is kind of it's an I don't remember, it had to have been made in the 80s, and it's basically a kid's dad is in the Air Force and he gets captured overseas in whatever the fictional enemy country is at the time, and the kid goes to someone he knows in the Air Force, or was former Air Force, and tells him what's going on, and they go save him. They fly F-16s, but the guy, the Air Force guy, his name, or his call sign was Chappie. So that movie is something that my sister really identifies, kind of puts me and my dad together, because both me and my dad are big into aviation, and that's one of those movies that we kind of connected on, or at least we get connected on. And it was an 80s movie, but it was still a pretty good one. The 80s is known for having its good movies here and there. I am a child of the 80s, sort of. I lived through half of it. So that's why we chose, we chose Chappie, because it's something, so we don't have to use our real names for our Spartan names, which, there's nothing wrong if you want to use your real name. There's people that go by even their nickname, Mac, for one. I've had Colonel Fork since, 2000, it had to have been late 2003, early 2004. So I've had it for a while. And I used it online and so on and so forth. Everybody comes up with their own moniker for a fictional character. Everybody has their own degree of creativity with it. And I will never make fun of somebody's moniker, because if that's what they've chosen, that's what they've chosen, and good on them. You know, Colonel Fort, who names a character after a kitchen utensil. Weird people do. I'm weird. I freely admit it. So sorry, I'm trying to look at the model real quick. I don't know where I was going with that. My brain is real. I'm a little scatterbrained. Sue me. A lot of artistic people have a tendency to be messy, or scatterbrained. So be nice to people that are a little scatterbrained, because they can be very creative people. Yeah, and I've said this in other live streams that I've done, all 3 of them, that I do this even if I don't have viewers, because A, doing it motivates me to build, and because I have too much of a tendency to sit on my duff and do nothing, and that doesn't get anything built. Doing this shows creating the thing, and if somebody can learn from that, then it's entirely worthwhile. Even if I don't have any live viewers, I would love to have viewers. I really would. It would make interaction so much more fun, just for me. But even without viewers, I can still do these. Ow. Sorry, hot glue. Very, very not fun. But if somebody can see the process, somebody that's maybe been looking at doing a Halo build, or any kind of armor build for that matter, if they see how it's not all that hard, because it really isn't, see that, anybody can do it, and I'm not going to sit here and say it's super easy and this and that. It's not. I would never say that it's super easy. It's not complicated. All you have to do is put your mind to it and have a little bit of stick-to-itiveness. But for me, this is doing the live stream. It's a motivating factor, because people can see what I do, and I'm a rookie. I am. This build is my first full build. I've built a few parts here and a few parts there, but never a whole build. I will say that I haven't gotten. I do have my dad involved with building this. He's doing a lot of the cutting out of the pieces and the templates for it. But I figure it's his suit. It's something that I can connect with my dad, and we can both kind of do it. And we would really want to get involved with our community, both here locally between the 2 of us, and even on a more broad scale with the Michigan Misfits. And just volunteer, try to get out in the community, help whoever. Somebody's having a thing and they need, are trying to attract people to go to the thing. That's kind of what we want to do. It's just it's part of it. It's giving back. We're not asking for anything in return. Certain things it would be, especially for that, a bite to eat. Just depending on what the event is. If the host is able to even provide something as little as food is helpful, but we do it more for the sake of trying to do good. But we want to, as a group, we want to do things like go to the pediatric hospitals, or even pediatric centers of regular hospitals, and visit kids and whatnot. And the Misfits really focus on Halo, but we're associated with other groups that do other kind of costumes, like comic book characters, and that sort of thing. So anything that we can do to make a difference and make things not so mundane or boring, or if we can brighten someone's day doing what we have a lot of fun doing, then that's what it's really about. That's what I want to do. Plus, I mean, doing something good and being in a a Halo suit, who could argue with that? You know? Oh yeah, I gotta stick these together. Yeah, and my staff and I were working on different things that are, trying to explore different avenues of things that we can do. And we try to encourage our members. I don't know why that word was not coming to me. To go out into their own communities and find a way to give back. I mean, we have some members who are in law enforcement or even Coast Guardsmen, or other armed services, and a lot of that's a lot of selfless service, and that in and of itself is, especially the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard gets I really think that they get underappreciated the most out of the armed services, because there is no peacetime for the Coast Guard. They're always doing stuff. If there's somebody lost in the woods, the Coast Guard's there. They're helping with the efforts of that. So, but they're not the ones that are going overseas and this and that. They're the ones protecting the homeland all the time. So we have members that are part of the Coast Guard, law enforcement, whatever, and that's a lot of service. And we don't force anybody to do anything. We encourage it, but we would never strong arm anyone into doing something like that, because that's not how we operate. Even and we're still discussing a lot of different things, just details about events and that sort of thing. Just because we're a pretty fledgling group right now. We don't have a lot of members, and we have even fewer active members. For the most part, a lot of people join just because we're a Halo group, and we visit conventions, which there's nothing wrong with that, because I love going to conventions. This knee's looking pretty good. That's, well, find a better, well, sorry. If I can hold that there. Oh, this seems gonna suck. Yeah, I can fix it. No. And that's one of the biggest tricks to doing or using foam, is kind of eliminating seam lines. There's a lot of different methods to do it, but the best, or one of the best that you can always do, is always have a smooth cut. If the surface that you cut is always smooth, it makes seams look so much better. Case in point, these. I mean, you almost couldn't tell that there's three pieces here, until you look at the back and really look at it. Seems like that you don't need to hide, because these are going to hide, and no one's going to really see them anyway. Now where's that other piece? So this is well, that way. Yeah, it's not too bad. You know, and a lot of things end up getting a little bit of improvisation just based on need. You know, sometimes, you know, and I've said this time and time again, this build isn't going for hyper accuracy. This is going for, it's for my dad, and as long as it looks halfway decent, my job's, you know, that's what matters, is just getting something that looks decent. And I know a lot of people would say, well, you should always try to, you know, do the best that you can and blah blah blah. Look, this is the best. This is my next step in learning and getting better and growing at this hobby. Give me a little slack. You know, I'm not a master builder by any sort of the word. I am a novice, but I am trying to do my best and trying to learn. So this build, it's not going to look perfect. It's not even probably going to look all that pretty. But I'll have the satisfaction of knowing that I built it and I did the best that I could. And that's what I care about. If other people say that it looks awesome, great. You know, it's always nice to receive a compliment. Oops. Oops. But, you know, it's not going to be movie accurate. It just isn't. But my benefit is it's not trying to be movie accurate. It's just trying to be accurate enough as a full build to look halfway decent from 10 foot away. I use the 10-foot rule a lot. Some people don't know what the 10-foot rule is. For those of you that don't know about the 10-foot rule, is the 10-foot rule states that as long as it looks good from 10 feet away, you did a good job. Or if it looks good in cameras from 10, you know, which is part of the, at least from my understanding. So don't take any of this as gospel. But the 10-foot rule is generally also used in reference as far as getting pictures taken, because they're usually that far away from you. Because you can go up to anybody's costume, up real close, and manage to find some imperfection. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. But so as long as it looks good on the 10-foot rule, I'm okay. And the other part of it, as long as my dad is happy and he likes it, I can stop doing what I'm doing and be happy because I made my dad happy. And don't take that as I plan on or have any intention of stopping what I'm doing after this, because I don't. This is merely a stepping stone for me. I'd like to continue to improve and even continue to do more suits. I would love for this to become something I do all the time. I don't expect it to by any means, but never hurts to have dreams and goals and aspirations. Never limit yourself. That's probably one of the worst things you can ever do in life, is limit yourself. You're worth more than that. You're worth more than, you know, cutting yourself short. And I have my own struggles with confidence and thinking I do good work and that sort of thing. So it's difficult advice to follow, but it's worth at least trying to follow it. See, this is the fun part where I have to find things to talk about, but I'm struggling. Because you're literally just watching me put this together, which I'll admit isn't all that interesting. It could be more interesting with viewers, just with that interaction, which I would love to have, but you have to build an audience. You can't, I mean, and I do it at weird hours of the day just because I have to work around my day job. So that in and of itself makes it a bit of a challenge. But it's like I said earlier, even if somebody manages to sit through and watch each of these, and they learn something or they benefit from it, then it makes it all worthwhile. And that's my goal more than anything, is just to try to be that person that can help somebody learn something, or see that, hey, I could do that. I'm not very good at posting progress pictures or anything like that. I could learn to get better at that. But it's kind of an accountability for me. It's just, if I can know that this is going out into a public space, and that way this thing is recording what I do, and I don't have to sit there and take a bunch of pictures. So I'm not very good at that. I mean, if somebody were to ask me for a full tutorial in a written and picture form, I'd be lost. I'd just be absolutely lost. You want me to do a video? I can do a video, but I need my hands, and I don't use the written word all that well, and sometimes even I don't speak all that well. But I have a tendency to be able to speak and explain through word of mouth better than I do in word. Because I believe that tone has a lot of impact on how things are interpreted. With text, it's very difficult to express tone properly. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. And so that's why I prefer doing things like this as opposed to trying to do something written and pictures. And okay, this is, I will admit, this right here is probably one of my first tries at doing a nice valley fold using this method. So I'm not entirely sure how well this is going to work. That's just me being honest. I have no shame. If I screw up, and I screw up bad, especially on, video, I'm not gonna try to cover it up or whatever. If I screw up, I screw up. I mean, I'd rather learn from a screw up, because when you screw up, you can learn from that and be like, okay, I see what I did wrong, and try to work out how I can do it better. Okay, after this one's dry, we can start on that one. So this is the knee, as it was. This part, at least according to the model, is supposed to go more perpendicular than it is, but the way I've attached it, it kind of has to be like that. And realistically speaking, if I can get my knee up here, it's going to go up there like that. So it's not going to be that big of a deal. Now, one of the unique things about this model, if you'll notice here on the Pepicura, is this back piece, this front piece, and the knee part. None of them are connected to each other. So these are essentially each shin or lower leg piece, whatever you want to call it, they're 3 separate pieces. The challenge with that can also, or of attaching all of them and having it look right, is also an opportunity, because getting those mounted or attaching those in such a way that somebody can get their leg into it can be a bit challenging. So, that being said, the way I did my other shins is I had buckles in the back. And it works, and I can put them on and off. But with this, I have an opportunity to use some high tensile or high strength elastic out of everything, so that it should be able to easily slip on. But if I have it, as long as I have the elastic taut enough, it will be able to my dad will be able to slip it onto his leg, and it'll just stay there without any extra strapping. Of course, that's all theoretical at this point. Strapping to me is one of the last things to do, even after painting. Granted, I've repainted my armor and I've painted over strapping, and it is what it is. But as far as this build, strapping is going to end up being well, it's still wet, or whatever, goopy. Just because that way I get a better idea about what I need to do, but it's also, strapping can be relatively easy. Can be. It just depends on how you want to do it. The way I do it should be relatively simple. Okay, just if this doesn't end up working, I'll have to figure something out. I'll let that dry. But it just makes sense, because it gives the least opportunity for you to sure, I know what I was thinking. Just gives you the least opportunity to paint over all the strap work. The challenge is, depending on how you want to do it, you might scuff up the paint, which is always unfortunate. But doing painting the way I do, if it gets scuffed up a little bit, it can kind of get written off as, oh, it's battle damage, yay. It's nothing like having a natural battle damage look to armor, because if it happens naturally, well, congratulations, you've done your job, and it looks correct. Battle damage can be a really tricky feat to accomplish when weathering an armor. Some people like a battle damage look. some people like a very clean look. I kind of prefer the battle damage look, but when you can make it look more natural instead of artificial, like artificial in the sense of you have the armor sitting in front of you and you're kind of picking and choosing, oh, this kind of looks like a gunshot here or ricochet or whatever, whereas start off with it clean and then you go out and do stuff like go to a convention and you get scuffs here and there. That's just natural wear, so it will wear naturally where if you were out in the field wearing it, where it would wear it. You know, it would. I don't really think I'm doing a round robin trying to explain it, and you've probably already understood what I'm trying to say already, so I'm just going to shut up about it. I'm just going to end up making myself look like an idiot. I'm really good at that. Oh, that looks like an interesting trick. I'm just looking at where this piece attaches to this piece is a very interesting seam. Now this piece down at the bottom of that piece is going to be, there's not going to be a piece there, just given the fact that I'm using the 1/2-inch foam. It's just going to be empty space. It shouldn't be a big deal. I have a tendency to worry more than I need to about little problems like that. I'm trying. I'm getting better. You know, another thing I really like about Ivakura is just the fact he's very, very encouraging. I had made a couple of posts earlier this year when I was getting ready for the Midwest Media Expo. Pardon me. Just worrying about, I've never done boots and I don't want to screw up and blah blah blah, because I have a thing about failure. I hate failure. I hate failing, which then causes me from time to time not to even try. And I really appreciate the way Ivakura kind of said, or kind of basically told me in a very polite but stern way that I have to just buck up and do it and try, because if I don't, it'll just always end up being a what if, and what ifs are almost worse than, a lot of people will say that they don't, or they regret the things they didn't do more than the things that they did do. And it's one of those very difficult lessons for me personally, because I hate failure, but at the same time I want to do all this stuff. And part of my reasoning for, at least when it comes to this stuff, is just it's a matter of being able to afford materials, which a lot of people go through. Lots of people go through. If any of you think that I'm made of money, you've got another thing coming. I am not made of money. I tried to do that one, and that's one of the reasons why I go the foam route. It's cheap in a relative sense. It's actually generally works out to be a little cheaper than if I were to try to do it the whole fiberglass resin and Epicura and all that route. You know, and lots of people have proven that you can get just as much detail out of a good foam suit than you can out of Epicura and fiberglass and resin. It is possible to get a lot of detail out of it, but you know, some people will always swear by whatever they want to swear by. Some people are dead set on the PEP, fiberglass resin, and so on method, Bondo. Some people are dead set on cardboard even, to the point where they don't necessarily even want to try the other ones. But I always like having an open mind. It's not that I'll never say that, you know, oh, foam is better than this and that and whatever. I always like to, when people ask about it, I always say, this is why I prefer this. You know, I prefer foam because it's easy to work with, it's light, and you can still get really good detail out of it. So there's, you know, a lot of benefits. Thorn, his armor weighs, last I heard, was around about 80 pounds. That's a lot of weight. And I mean, every time I see him, and Thorn he's a character. He's a very unique individual, and he's a great person. But just some of the things he does in his armor, I'm just like, how can you do that all day long, and even at night during a rave? He does it, and he does it like a champ, but gosh, I can't imagine doing that in foam armor. Granted, I think there was one, I don't remember what convention it was. It might have been Midwest. It may have even been UMACon last year, where I had been suited up, or I had been in my suit for around about 10 hours. I didn't regret it, though I have to admit, at the end of the night, I was I was glad to get out of it. And I say that in a sense of, it is nice to get out of it at the end of the day, but it's always a blast being in it. I never hate being in it. I never feel like it's a chore. It's always enjoyable. Some of the best moments I've had suited up is just when you get these kids that they know who it is, and just when their face lights up, that they can hardly believe that they're seeing one of their, a video game character in real life right in front of them, and just it lights their world up, and that is such a wonderful feeling. You know, I've seen it happen with other, some comic book characters and that, but even for Halo, it's just, it makes doing the whole thing worth it. Another motivating factor for me is there are a lot of men and women overseas in a desert wearing a lot heavier and a lot less breathable gear than this foam lightweight suit. And they're not doing it for fun. They're fighting a cause not their own, and they volunteered to do so. So what room do I have to complain about wearing something that's fun? It's just one of those things. It's sometimes it comes down to what motivates you. Always try to find your own motivation. And by the way, if you guys have not listened at all to Two Steps from Hell, their music is really epic. From what I understand, they're well known in the industry for doing music for trailers, video games, movies, you name it. They do a lot of music for trailers, and they put out, as far as I'm aware, and I could be wrong, their second album. Their first one was called Skyworld, and that was really nice, really good album. But I'm listening to what I believe is their newest one, and it's called Battle Cry. Yeah, Battle Cry. And if you're a fan of the original music from the original Halos, you'd enjoy Two Steps from Hell. It's just, they do a really good job, and it's fun to listen to. Alright, those are those. Okay, does that... Now we get to the fun part! Alright, that's at the top. Yeah, I gooped it a little heavy on that one. Curses. This seam hasn't gone well so far. Ow. Yeah, and like I've said, I'm not even remotely expecting this to be perfect. Perfect is far from my goal. I want it to be wearable, and I want it to look halfway decent. I'm going to do the best that I can, but perfection, I have to work. I work, and I set small goals. And don't let anyone say that's, oh, you have to make big goals and this and that. No. Make attainable goals. Make goals that you can say, yeah, that's not too far off. I can do that. And do it. And once you reach those goals, set a new goal that's a little higher than that, or that's higher than that. You know, it's just like, and once again, I'm giving advice that I find difficult to follow myself, so it almost makes me look hypocritical. But the Army wanted me to be 180 pounds. Well, I haven't been under 200 pounds for, well, since probably freshman year of high school, maybe. So, 180 pounds, this is not going to happen. And I'm sitting at around about 260, 270. And for me to try and think, gee, I need to, lose weight, and I need to get down to such and such a weight. I need to make small, attainable goals. That I know I can reach if I can put my bloody mind to it. Look at that curve. And that's something. Hot glue. And to think this part was flat at one point. Had no curve to it at all. So, I don't know. Never Never say that you can't do something. You know, at one point in time I said I could never build anything like a Halo suit or even a part of a Halo suit, and I've proved myself wrong on that time and time again. The more you get to doing this, the better you get at really nice seams. This is kind of a very rough seam. But if you're like me, and you just kind of look at it, battle damage. I probably use that excuse more often than I should, but nonetheless. Uh-oh, I shouldn't have done that. Well, let that harden more. Yeah, as you can see, I might have gotten the angle. Looking at it. Trying to... Sorry, I'm having a bit of a sinus issue at the moment. Yeah, the angle might not be too bad. That might be okay. If I can angle it right. I keep angling. There we go. Wait. No. Crap. Get off of my fingers. But the more pieces you do, the better you get at seams and making things look the way you want it to, and just making them look smooth. For instance, the shins, my original shins, after I built the second one, which the second one I built was a lot better than the first one, but after that I looked at it and realized, gosh, I can see already a couple of different pieces that could just be melted into one piece and eliminate a lot of seams and make it look a whole lot nicer. You know, that's the sort of thing that happens when you're building. You can look at it and be like, gee, you know, I could have done this a little differently, and I could have done it like this and gotten a better result. Hindsight is always going to be 20/20. You know, it's always easier to look back on it. The hard part is not saying, wow, I did such a crappy job. You know, be proud of the job that you did and just take the information that you gained by doing it, and the next part you build is going to be even better than those. You know, it's like anything in life. Failing, you're going to fail. Everybody fails. Don't let anybody say that they've never failed. If anybody tells you that they've never failed, they either haven't lived life at all, or they're lying. Failure is a part of life, and there's no shame in failure. It's what you do with the failure and how you handle it afterwards. If you take the failure and you learn from the failure and move forward, then that's the best thing you can do. And I might have gotten, this might be spread a little too wide, but it looks alright. But never let failure stop you from learning. You know, don't let yourself get discouraged. You know, it's really easy to get discouraged and, you know, be, oh no, I screwed this up. I don't want to. You know, even if it's a machine messing up on you, it gets frustrating, and you get angry, and you get frustrated, and you just want to quit. I've raged a lot on stuff like that, and like just nothing's going the way I want it to, and everything's going wrong, and this and that. And I've learned on my own that when I start getting to that point, it's best to just stop, set it aside, do something else that's unrelated, and then come back to it later with a clear head. Because even when I do that, I'm always thinking about it in the back of my head. If it's something that I'm doing wrong, I can usually analyze and see, well, okay, so I might have been doing this wrong, so I'll try this when I go back to it. If it's a mechanical error, you know, and if there's something you can do about it, fantastic. If not, if there's nothing you can do about it, that's the only time to get stuck. But there's just, it's okay to be frustrated, but don't let it consume you. When you let it consume you, it just, you end up miserable. Nobody likes being miserable. I know I don't like being miserable. So it's starting to look like a thing. I mean, it looks kind of like a taco ship, I guess, right at the moment. The good ship Taco Supreme. Yeah, I'm a dork. It's alright. I'm the only one that has to live with me. But no, seriously, check out Two Steps from Hell. Their music is fantastic. Ah, you thought you were going to get away, did you? Aha! I proved you wrong. Yet again. So basically, things are going to end up looking kind of like... Now I'm holding it, I'm clamping it a little tighter than what it will end up being, just because it will naturally spring back out some. So I'm kind of compensating that. It's kind of like when bending sheet metal. You end up wanting to bend it just a hair further than what you want because it'll spring back a little bit. So if you overcompensate just a little bit, and it, due to it flexing back, you'll get the desired result. Generally. Your results may vary. See doctor if something. Yeah, see, it's going to end up looking a lot like that. Granted, that's the wrong side to show you, but I have wet glue. Give me a glue stick. Give me my glue stick. Thank you. Thank you. Going back to my glue gun, I've mentioned that, talked about it a little bit in my other streams. Some people will get a dual temperature glue gun. And even some of the small glue guns that I have, like this little guy, it says high temp, but it doesn't get things hot enough, or at least to the where it works the way I want it to. So when I got my big one, it's also high temp. I don't know what it is. I mean, part of it's probably the brand. So that little one I had or showed you was from Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight, wonderful place. It's where I get my foam. But tools, sometimes you get more than what you pay for. Sometimes you just get what you pay for. Like the Dremel. Never get one of their little Dremels. Never. They just break. They don't really do much. Get an actual Dremel. Whether it's the Dremel brand or a Black & Decker or a Stanley. Whatever. Don't get the cheap. Some things are worth spending a little extra on when you can. When you can. Never overextend yourself financially just for the hobby. It's just friendly advice. So, ta-da! It's the front part of the Shin. I know this is off frame, but well, it might be a bit on the short side, but this one was really hard to gauge on how big to make it. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Well, I just stuck my finger in glue again. Why? Alright. Put that over the side, that over the side. Now comes the fun part, which, given the fact that I've done this for a little over an hour, it's 3:01 a.m. local time. Good night. Everybody's on and off, on and off, on and off on Steam. Sure, I was going somewhere. Oh. Oh, I remember. I'm not sure how late I'm going to make this one. I'm probably not going to get the whole thing built tonight. I will get the rest of that built on my next stream, which won't be during the day tomorrow. But I actually get done before midnight. From work tomorrow. I get done at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And I don't believe it'll be too much after that I'll do another stream. That way I might actually get an audience, which would be a pleasant change of pace. Otherwise, right now, I kind of look like somebody that's a little crazy talking to themselves, which wouldn't be far off from the truth. But like I said, if somebody stumbles across these and actually suffers through the hour-plus commentary and build, more power to you. Congratulations. But if I've helped you, that's what matters most. That's the truth. That really is the truth. If I can help one person learn how to build this stuff, it makes it worth doing. It really does. I don't want you. Well, okay, that kind of works out. It's gonna be kind of a goofy setup, but whatever. Not like I'm not used to it by now anyway. You know, I love my dad and I give him credit, but he's still learning the process of how to cut these things out. And, you know, I'm just glad that he is willing to take up the workload. You know, there's kind of a funny point, and I probably did some miscommunicating, which it's not the first time that's happened. He managed to inadvertently only cut enough pieces out for one shin, one forearm, and one shoulder. So, sad part is I lost the pieces, the template pieces for the forearms, so I might have to just trace those out and have him cut out another one. Or, worst case scenario, I print off the templates again and have him cut it out and do it all over again. Granted, but I have enough for one forearm, one shin, and one shoulder. I've got both thighs pieces ready to go. So this is going to be like an episode and a half. I could probably do both the shoulder pieces after I cut out the other one. That's probably one episode. Probably an episode per thigh. It might be about 3 episodes so an episode and a half per forearm, because that's a lot of itty bitty pieces. Yeah, these thighs, they're going to be another episode. Plus, I still have a couple more. I have some repairs to do, or another couple of repairs to do on my armor. Nothing big. The only big project I have for my armor is the Mark V helmet, the Halo 4 Mark V helmet that I got from Brad Thompson of Impact Props. that's been kind of a work in progress. I had it done initially during or for the Midwest Media Expo this past April. Unfortunately, the visor wasn't really working out real well and ended up snapping in half after the convention, thankfully. Ow. But I didn't have a fan in it, which didn't help anything. And by the way, if you have a helmet, get a fan. So I need to get a fan in there, and I need to install a new visor, which if you can look up icon props on Etsy, and I might have to edit the description to include links to that. They have a very nice visor film that you get 2 sheets of it for like $20 plus shipping, which is like $1.50 or something like that, depending on where you're at. And it's a great material because even in flash photography you can't see through it, which a lot of visors you can still, especially with flash photography, you can still see through it, and that kind of ruins to a certain degree ruins the effect of having a mirror finished visor. Is the idea is you're not supposed to be able to see through it. But I love that material. I always recommend it and it comes in different colors. I use silver. A lot of people go for the gold and they want to be like the Master Chief, and which is fine. I know that a good friend of mine, Jeremy, he uses the I think it's the iridium. It's kind of a multicolor, but it looks really good. But it comes. I think there's a blue. If you order black, it's really the blue. It's just the back side of the blues. It's kind of funny. I don't see a lot of people using that. They usually just go for the blue. I know that my dad's suit is going to be, his helmet's going to use the blue visor. Let's see. But look them up on Etsy. It's icon props. Otherwise, if you can find Stony props, the guy that makes it is also a part of Stony props. But if for a visor, I will always suggest using that material because it works so well. It's easy to use. I mean, you can cut it with scissors. Sorry, multitasking again. But I would always recommend using that. A nice kind of a cheating trick, and I'll actually show you that if I can find the piece. If you have a vacuum formed visor, like this is from a Headshot Props ODST. And this is why I will never ever build my own ODST helmet, because the visor, it's just so unique. It's, I don't want to have to deal with trying to make my own visor. That's just but a way to cheat. If you can find a vacuum formed visor for a helmet like a Mark 6 or even the Halo 4 Master Chief helmet or Forward Unto Dawn helmet, if you get the clear version of it, you can take it, get that film, and just put it in like that, and if you look closely, you can see a gap, but when you're going around trooping and whatnot, no one's going to know the difference. And so that's kind of a way to cheat the system. course, then you're spending the money to get a visor, and then you're spending more money to get another visor to go inside of that, the first visor. So, I mean, it's not really the most cost-effective solution, but to get the effect, it works. Sometimes that's what it's about. So there. Fart around with that later. So basically, I just have that back half, that back portion to do, and that's this piece. That's all these pieces right here, and that's going to make up the remainder of this thigh. I'm going to do that on another episode, just because I'm kind of tired, and I'm going to have to... I've got some playing around to do with these anyway that I'm going to do off camera, because it's not something that I can really... It's not one of those set in stone ideas that I have that I can easily talk about while I'm doing it. So I'm going to at least figure it out, and then I can explain it on video when I actually do it. So I'm going to cut off the stream tonight, and to those of you that watch this, I appreciate it. I hoped you learned something, and I hope I helped. If it helped you at all, let me know. If you don't let me know, that's fine. That's okay. But take care, everyone, and happy building.